Hi, my name is Michael Opsteig, and I'm here to talk to you about applying for industry and alt-ac jobs. There are certain things that this presentation is not intended to do. Um, since I am presenting on seeking industry jobs at an academic conference, I feel a little bit like the fox in the hen house, right? So I just wanted to clear the air and say I'm not trying to dissuade you from pursuing positions within academia. However, if academia is not for you, I'm here to talk to you about how you can apply your rhetoric and composition skills to positions outside of academia. This presentation is also not going to describe where to look for industry jobs, and I'm not going to get into creating a resume or things to list on your resume. Make use of your campus career center for advice on those things. What I would like to talk to you today about is giving you actionable steps on how you can prepare for seeking a job in the industry. And these are things that you can do now while you are pursuing your graduate degree. In fact, I urge you to start doing these things as soon as possible because they take time, and you'll find that laying the groundwork now will make your path easier later on in life. I want to give you tips on building your experience and your portfolio and help you understand how your rhetoric and composition skills are applicable and very much needed in industry. So, what kinds of jobs are available in industry? Lots of them. If you can think of an industry, um, there are communication and writing jobs available within that industry. So this slide presents a very, very short list of the types of industries and positions that rhetoric and composition students go on to hold and be successful in industry. What can you do now to prepare looking for industry jobs? Well, to explain that, I'm going to borrow a metaphor that I heard about 12 years ago from a gentleman by the name of Jack Molisani. And the way Jack described it was this, is that when Europe was exploring the New World, the Americas, several hundred years ago, the British, the French, the Dutch, and Spain, they commissioned ships to sail across the ocean and colonize and gather materials that they could bring back to the old world to sell. And these countries were very successful in doing these things. In fact, they amassed a lot of wealth and power during that time. But in looking at how they accomplished this, they built a lot of ships and they sent a lot of ships out. And it took time and it took money to do those things. It also took a lot of time for those ships to come back. So, you figure if you sent a ship from England, you probably wouldn't see it again for another 2 years coming back from the New World. And not all the ships returned. You had ships that were lost at sea in storms, you had crews that died of dysentery. So you actually had to send a lot of ships out in order for any of them to return. And preparing for looking for a job in industry is very similar to that. You have to send a lot of ships out in order for some of them to come back. You can't just sit idle and think that ships and job offers are going to come to you if you haven't been sending ships out throughout your graduate career. So let's look a little bit and see what I mean by sending ships out. I have 5 actionable steps that you can take to right now. You can start these things right now to help your search in the industry job market. Let's go through each of these really briefly. First and foremost, we've all heard the expression, it's all about who you know. And I'm going to submit to you that that statement is false. It's actually the reverse. It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. Who knows you, who knows what you're capable of, and who knows where jobs are available, and who will think of you when they hear of a job opening. The best way to meet people who have similar interests are to join professional associations. And so I highly encourage you to look into some of these organizations, find out what they're like, find out what types of people are there, and go to their meetings and meet with folks and connect with them. Secondly, attend industry association meetings. So, just as there are societies and associations for professional communication and technical writing, and even in the case of the Council for WPA, there are associations for every industry out there. So if you're thinking about going into industry, think about what industry you might want to go into and find an association that serves that industry. And many of those associations will have local chapters who have meetings. And I suggest that you go to those meetings, learn from the presentations if they have speakers and different topics each month. But more importantly, go to network. Tell people who you are. I can almost guarantee you that if you go to any industry association meeting and you tell people that you are a writer or a professional communication specialist, you're going to be pretty popular. First of all, you're going to be the only one there. Second of all, everybody in that room is going to want to regale you with stories about how communications at their company need a lot of help. So your services are needed, and attending industry association meetings is a great place to network and find leads for jobs. After you meet people at these professional associations, I suggest that you connect with them through a resource like LinkedIn, which is a social media site for professionals. And so connecting with people like on LinkedIn is like adding friends on Facebook. But don't just connect with people and, call it done. I suggest that maybe once a year you go through your list of connections and send people notes. Ask them about the projects that they're working on. Remind them of who you are so that you always stay in the front of their mind when they hear about positions that are opening up. To start building your LinkedIn network, you might consider connecting with your professors and your fellow students. Next, you'll want to develop a portfolio. And we've all seen that chicken and egg sort of scenario where an entry level position requires 2 to 3 years of experience. Well, how do you get experience if everybody requires experience? What I suggest you do is that you volunteer, that you can even look on your home campus for offices that need policies and procedures written. You can go to your institution's research office and ask them if they have any grants or proposals that need editing, and start developing your experience that way. But also keep in mind that you want to ask if you can use these as samples to include in your portfolio. That way, when you're on the job market and you're applying and you go to your interview, you can show the hiring manager the types of things that you are capable of doing for them. So developing your portfolio and building experience, you can do both of those things at once. Teach yourself technical stuff. I know you've spent a lot of time and money in school, and you've developed some very critical skills, but when you look at a job posting, it's going to ask for, it's going to list preferred skills that may include software packages or industry knowledge. And so really, it's up to you to go out and teach yourself those things. And there's never been a better time to do that on your own. there are phenomenal resources out there like lynda.com where you can learn just about every software package there is. And your institution may even have a subscription to lynda.com, so it may even be free to you. What I suggest you do is that you tackle a couple of Lynda courses each month and learn about different pieces of software and learn about different industries. Also, those professional associations that I suggested that you go to earlier, they often have presentations at their meetings, and so that's a great place to go learn about industry information and gain some of that domain knowledge that employers may be looking for. Now, finally, this is kind of a bonus tip for you. Understand and articulate the value of your rhetoric and composition degree. Many of us may have laughed or maybe cried at Avenue Q. What can I do with a BA in English? There's sort of this stigma these days about having a liberal arts degree and the value of it in the quote real world. And I'm going to submit to you that the critical thinking, the research, the communication, the persuasive skills that you have, that you've been trained in your rhetoric and composition programs, are directly applicable to industry, and they are so sorely needed there. I've provided a couple of books on this slide that I hope that you take the time to read, so that not only will it be like chicken soup for the rhet comp practitioner's soul, but they'll also help you articulate to hiring managers and even your managers in the future the true value that you bring to your job in the industry. And with that, thank you, and back to you, Maria.